trying to get rid of this. I think this is still on
What are you speaking about? Interesting.
How many?
Sure, you go right ahead. Place ain't go. Boys like this.
Yes. This is appropriate that was.
Yes.
This is education policy. That was it. Ways and how you got it.
Oh, 100%. Hanging from the ceiling rafters.
Welcome to Education Policy. If everyone would silence your phones, that would be important today. I'm going to ask, before we get started, Representative Estes to open us in prayer.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Lord, we thank you for the gift of this day. Father, we thank you for the opportunity you've given us to come together in the people's house to try to reach decisions and take in the information presented before us, but most importantly, be able to discern what you would have us to do. Lord, help us to do things today that would be respectful of you, respectful of those who come before this committee, and I pray that you give each member of this committee, including myself, the wisdom to do not what is right for one, but what is right for all. Help us cut through the different opinions and the different stacks of facts and be able to come to a good conclusion to which we can take pride in and be comfortable that we've made the best decision for the people of the state of Alabama. Father, forgive us for we've sinned against you. In Christ's name we ask it. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'll ask our clerk to call the roll.
Representative Collins.
Here.
Representative Baker.
Here.
Representative Drummond. Representative Daniels. Representative DuBose. Representative Estes. Representative Fincher. Representative Gidley. Representative Gray. Representative Morris. Representative Paramore. Representative Pascal. Representative Ross. Representative Smith. Representative Woods. A quorum is present.
Oh, I do see. Okay. Are there any guests with us today? Are there any special? We've got some I'm going to call out with some different bills, but I wanted to, sometimes we have a page or someone.
Oh, I have 2 pages.
Representative Hulsey, would you like to introduce your pages before you get?
I would love to. Yeah, I know, right? Bless my heart. Bless my heart. So this is Mallory Puckett and Cash Nelson. They are both from the wonderful district of House District 15, and they've been with me this week, and we'll be there tomorrow too.
Thank you. We're glad to have you with us today. The first bill we're going to go through today is House Bill 96. Representative Robertson, if you'll come talk to us about your bill.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. HB 96, this bill would require high schools to allow high school students to participating in organizational National Signing Day activities related to the acceptance of athletic scholarships, post-secondary school education commitments, apprenticeship programs, and military enlistments to be excused from class. This bill would also require high schools to provide reasonable accommodations for those activities.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? I want to say as we get started that I see athletic signing days all the time, and I just love the opportunity to see post-secondary signing days, military, and apprenticeships. So I thank you. Representative Baker.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm a little bit curious. I'm one that, and not necessarily suggesting that this is unnecessary legislation, but it concerns sometimes that we over-legislate here in Montgomery and things that can be handled otherwise outside of legislation. So I assume that there must have been a problem that is in a specific area that in regards to, I know this encompasses different things, and I'm all for this happening in the school, so I'm not opposed to the concept that you have.
No, sir, I'm not aware of a certain situation. I just kind of go back to when I joined. I was 17 in high school. Not that I wanted that, but just something like if we're offering it for students that are going to be going to play athletics, I think we should offer this great dedication to be acknowledged too. And it's a great career to go into. I hope maybe, I guess recruiting's down over the last few years. Maybe this would pick up recruitment, just marketing it that, hey, this is an avenue that you can go to have a great career and help your nation.
So the premise of your bill would be more so maybe from what I gather from what your remarks there is maybe to broaden this beyond just the athletics that oftentimes that we see quite commonly. And so whether it be military, whether it be music, whether it be academics or such, yes, that you would like to see that same recognition sort of bleed across to those
yes,
areas.
Even in, the workforce development area, the technical schools. I think that's something we need to celebrate.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Representative Pascal.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Did you say you were 17?
I was 17. My dad signed for me.
Oh, yeah.
He wouldn't let me go in the Marines or the Army, so I had to pick Navy and I should have picked National Guard. I mean, not National Guard, but I should have, but I wanted to. But I should have picked Coast Guard. I had a buddy that was in the Coast Guard. Man, he lived the life. He had I had a great time. But it was a great experience. But I was 17 when I entered in.
Okay.
So.
Well, two things. I'd like to say thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And second thing, Madam Chairman, at the appropriate time, I'd like to move for a favor report.
Okay, I'll come back. Representative Fincher.
Hello, Representative Robertson.
Hey, sir.
Does this include scholarships to colleges? Would you have all of the recipients of scholarships?
It can. If they want, and that's
is that the intent of the bill to include that?
Yes, sir. And this doesn't. If the school doesn't already do it, they don't have to start doing it. This is just saying if they do it, they need to offer it to these other avenues.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Drummond.
Just what I understand what you're doing. I've been to quite a few of these and was very proud to be there. But why just restrict it to athletes? Because I've been to some where I've had.
It doesn't.
Oh, it doesn't. Okay, answer my question. Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Representative Pascal. You'd like to make a motion?
Yes, Madam Chairman. I move for a favor report.
Thank you. We have favorable report from Representative Pascal, second from Representative Gidley. Any other questions or comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The bill is given a favorable report.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank y'all. Thank y'all.
Next, we'll call up House Bill 166. Representative Hulsey. Before she gets started and over the humming from the front row, I would like to acknowledge, if they'll stand, please, Representative Peblin Warren and Representative Patrick Sellers. This is a very bipartisan bill. They're here in the back, well, on each corner, as a matter of fact. But we appreciate them coming and working with us. The governor has been working with this as well. And I also, at the appropriate time, may call on to get some information from two guests from Excel and Ed, Miranda and Adriana, if y'all would stand up. And I appreciate their help a lot. And we also have Commissioner Boswell with mental health with us. And I am going to ask her to speak in just a moment. So, Representative Hulsey, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity, Chairman Collins and members. I appreciate the heckles as well. So thank you for that. So HB 166 is really what we're looking to do with this is free our classrooms of unnecessary electronic communication devices by prohibiting a student from using, operating, or possessing a wireless communication device during the instructional day. Additionally, it's going to require local boards of education to adopt an internet safety policy that addresses student access to the internet on district-owned devices and requires students to receive instruction on the risks and benefits of social media and how to use social media safely prior to entering the 8th grade. Creating learning environments free from cell phones during our school day is essential for two reasons: minimizing distractions that hinder their academic success, and then fostering healthy childhood socialization. Research and personal experiences increasingly show that smartphone use in schools contributes to lower academic performance, increased anxiety, loneliness, distress, and risks to healthy childhood socialization. Teachers overwhelmingly support that cell phones are a major source of distraction, pulling their students' attention away from learning. Additionally, excessive smartphone use can impede the student's ability to develop critical face-to-face communication skills, which are essential for their future success in both personal and professional settings. Under the principle of in loco parentis, schools have a duty to act in the best interest of their students by providing an environment that prioritizes their learning and their well-being. And I believe this bill does that. By limiting smartphone use, schools fulfill this responsibility, ensuring that students can focus on their education, develop the social skills necessary for a well-functioning member of society. And with that, I am happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I would like to call Commissioner Boswell up too. Last year we had a school safety commission by the speaker, and she served on that commission, and this was one of the school safety recommendations that they came back with. And so if you would like to share some important information, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Rarely do I stand in front of you and say there's something we can do with a stroke of a pen to improve the mental health of our youth. But today I'm standing in front of you to say that. We know that adolescents who spend more than 3 hours a day on social media face double the risk of anxiety and depression. The average use right now in 2023, the average use was 4.8 hours. So what's happening to our kids? We saw depression increase from 2010 to 2020, 145% in girls and 161% in boys. So maybe you'd say, well, maybe our youth know a little bit more about mental health. There's a lot out there right now about taking care of your mental health. So we also know that kids are showing up for emergency room visits for self-harm. So this is not just, I know more about my mental health, but kids are showing up in emergency rooms for self-harm. Girls, we saw 188% increase in that number, and boys, we saw a 48% increase in that number. So what does social media use do that is negative to kids? You've heard a little bit about that already. The 4 fundamental harms are social deprivation, sleep deprivation, attention fragmentation, and addiction. So this is really not very good for our youth, to say the least. And so what we are asking you today, the recommendations that we've seen and the research that we've seen, what can we do about that? No smartphones before high school. No booing, please. You can have a flip phone, but not a smartphone before high school. No social media use before age 16, phone-free schools. more independence, free play, and responsibility in the real world. We have shifted from the play-based childhood that we all experienced to a phone-based childhood. And what we want to get back to is connection and community and really helping our kids be as mentally healthy as they can be.
Thank you very much.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate you sharing.
Yeah.
I also want to remind before we get to questions that last year we actually, several, Montgomery County and I think Elmore County had a pilot program going on. And so they were 3/4 of the way through the school year last year. And if you remember, the principal from Carver High School spoke with us and talked about after the first month of the implementation where everybody fussed. But after that, that achievement started completely increasing and discipline problems completely decreased. Wanted to remind you of that. Are there any questions for the sponsor? Representative Drummond.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'm aware of that pilot program. It was a good program, but it didn't ban them totally. I think they had pouches or something that they put them in because the then superintendent, I actually had an opportunity to go and look at it in action, and they were still in the classroom but not accessible to the kids. Mm-hmm. And I guess I want to start my question there because I went to a fabulous high school in Baldwin County this past week where everything just about was technology, from smart boards to tablets where the kids were interacting. So tell me first, how do you sort of, your policy would eliminate all of those things? Because unfortunately, we live in a technology age and kids need some access to them, at least for learning.
Sure, that's a great question. And the reality is that this doesn't do that. This is not talking about your district-owned devices. Those are fully usable. We're not banning those.
But they will still be able to use their cell phones because they
So
have
I'll get
cell
to
phones.
that. I'm going to get to that. But I want to make sure we at least talk about that part because the things that are the devices that have been purchased by the schools or school boards, whomever's making those purchases, those things are not in this bill. So there is an exemption, and give me a second to flip to it, and I can tell you what line item it's on. The joys of being short. Let's see, if you will flip to page 4, line 95. It says the use, operation, or possession is for educational or learning purposes under the supervision of a local board of education personnel. That is one of the exemptions.
I've got it.
So that would allow that if they are using it for educational purposes.
Okay, Representative, let me ask another question. Unfortunately, not in Alabama, but in Georgia, I had a grandson that was attending the school where the shooting was. And one of the things that was so comforting to his parents that he was able to get his cell phone and tell them that he was okay. So what will those children be able to do in an emergency? I agree with you. I don't want them.
Absolutely. This is a fair question,
Yeah,
Representative.
So what do we do? And then I also, I don't know if this is a question for you or for the commissioner, I want her to specify the research that we're citing in the bill.
I can probably do that for you, and if I'm incorrect,
Okay, go ahead.
I would love for her to correct me. So stay on the same page you're on. I am going to put this out there.
See, I don't have.
My preference would be,
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, that's fine. So here's this is one thing I do want to kind of throw out there. The National SRO Association absolutely wants phones off campus. It is their number one recommendation for school safety in an emergency situation. So I want to at least acknowledge that because I think it's fair to acknowledge it. However, I have certainly heard from a lot of parents who expressed that same concern, and we did address it in the bill.
When all schools don't have an SRO on staff all the time. I know in my county, they have 5 and 6 schools per person.
Absolutely. I just wanted to make it known, though, that is law enforcement's stance on that because it does create a lot more confusion. It jogs the 911 line. There's a lot of reasons that they recommend that you not have them. However, I really was trying to listen to anyone that wanted to speak into this and be as fair as I could because I think that's my job. And I did have a lot of concern from parents that were very similar to that. So if you'll look online, 98, same page. This is another exemption that is allowed, and it is the use, operation, or possession occurs during an emergency threatening the life or safety of the student or another person.
I'm sorry, what did you say? He was distracting me.
Jeremy. All right, I'm just kidding. Okay, line 98, Representative Drummond. The use, operation, or possession occurs during an emergency threatening the life or safety of a student or another person. So that's one of the exemptions.
Okay, so, and that's my last question. So you will allow them to be somewhere on campus so that they can have access?
So the bill specifically just states that the phones are to be turned off, stored off their person, so like a locker, car, or a similar storage location. I think I'm quoting that correctly. So yes, they can be inside the school, but they are to be turned off, and they are to be stored off the individual person's body. And there are 3 exemptions where that is waived, and you can turn your phone on and utilize it. One is the health or the threat of safety. The other that we mentioned previously was for educational purposes. And just in case anyone's going to ask this, I'll throw the third one out there. It's anyone that's got an IEP, a 504 plan, or an individualized health plan. So that's an exemption as well.
I said that was my last one. This is my last. Is there a penalty?
So the way that this is written, there's kind of two parts to that. Let's flip to, goodness gracious, give me a second to find it. Okay, so
Page 6.
Go to,
Page 6.
well, there's, hold on. There are 2. That page 6 is one of them too, but here we go. Let's start on page 4. So line 101, no later than July 1, 2025, the local Board of Education shall adopt the wireless communication device policy. This policy shall include consequences for violations. It goes on to say that the Board of Education will make those decisions. So that right there is the local board's of education. We're keeping that in their purview, allowing them to regulate that and determine what is best for their school systems. All right, now flip to, I think she said it was 6, if I remember correctly. So, and I think before I give you this, I'm going to read a couple sections beforehand just to make sure. I think if I read that section without reading this, it's going to prompt the question anyway.
So what line is that?
So go to page 5, and let's start at 130. So what this is doing is essentially talking about a survey that they're going to create to really kind of make sure that there is uniform compliance. All right, so what will happen is each member of the system that is a certified board member will take an anonymous survey each year, and it will be regarding the implementation of the wireless communication device policy to measure uniform compliance within the school. Then on October 1 of 2025, the State Department of Education shall develop a survey to assess the levels of participation and compliance with said policy. On or before June 1 of each subsequent year, the annual survey results shall be submitted to the principal, the local superintendent of education, the local board of education, and the state board of education for publication on the website. And then this will be the secondary part of it. So starting at Lab 143, beginning in 2026, 2027, and what I'd love to point out is there's a year of grace right there, that what we were trying to do is we're going to start this policy, have a survey come out, and just on the off chance that principals were not aware, because maybe the teachers are not sharing that information, that, hey, there's not uniform compliance, and the survey comes back pretty rough, that it gives them a year to go back, talk to their staff, get them on board with things, kind of explain what needs to happen. And then after that, when the second survey is done, that's when this can become effective, okay? And so what this says is failure of a school to meet the minimum standards of uniform compliance with this policy or this act shall result in a deduction of 30% of common purchase allocation for the school. So I'm sure you want to know what that is too. So let me tell you what that is. So essentially, do you? Okay, never mind. I do not. Okay, I will answer it for the others, and I am sorry that I assumed you did not. I should know better by now. So what that is it is a specific line item in the ETF budget And for whatever teacher units you have at a school, so if it's 10 teacher units, they get $1,000 per unit. And 900 of that goes to the teacher. Then you've got 100 that's basically kind of pulled out and put before this committee at the schools that determine its expenditure, what they're going to spend that money on. So out of that, if it were just, I don't math good, so y'all don't make fun of me, please. But let's just say it's 10 teachers, that's $10,000, but you're basically keeping 1,000 of that in that fund there. So if you're looking at that, you're now looking at about $300. So the punitive impact is present, but it is minimal. And I will also say that I worked very hard with a lot of individuals to get this language to a place that they could either be neutral or support it. And I worked with several members in the Senate. I've worked with our leadership here in the House. I've worked with class. I've worked with the School Board Association. I might call them the wrong thing. I'm so sorry if I do. And the superintendents. I tried to be very intentional about having them feel comfortable being at the table and welcome to participate in this. And that's really where I was trying to, when we were going to look at punitive, I knew I needed their feedback to really understand a way that we could do it where it would be meaningful. They still might not love it, but if I'm honest with you, I don't love it. I would be okay with more punitive, but I think this is a fair compromise, and I'm okay with that.
Thank you. Representative Baker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Hulsey, thank you so much for bringing this bill. I'm just ecstatic that this has come before us. I don't know that 2 years ago I would have been in that place. I was a little bit more hesitant about some of these, that I was aware that around the nation there was various types of phone-free school environments, and whether this might be sort of an infringement on sort of personal rights or parental rights and being able to be connected to their children and such. But I definitely have had a huge thin shift based on the amount of information I've since have been exposed to, particularly attending a lot of things, whether it be you and I actually attended a master class on social media and its impact on the mental health of young people and elsewhere, that I just, there's a, and this isn't to say that technology is bad by any means whatsoever, but we're talking about for the instructional day, for the instruction, this is what we're really looking at in the schools. So this is where it's restricting that so that now there can be greater enhancement of focus by the students in the classroom. There's not the social drama that's going on in between checking their phone, between classes, going to their locker, getting their phone, and now next thing they know then that it's really interrupted their thought processes for their next class or the rest of the day or whatever it might would be. And so I really made a huge then shift and now very passionate about us being aggressive with this in the schools. Well, furthermore, I feel like we're actually empowering parents and just society in general because of the amount of screen time. Studies show that the average young person then spends greater than 8 hours a day on social media. 8 hours out of the day. Wow. And you think about this, and so the impact it's having. Once again, this isn't saying that technology is bad whatsoever, but when it's compromising, interfering with the instruction that's going on during the school day, then that's where I think we have to draw the line on that. So I'm very embracing of this bill. And I know there's probably more discussion maybe ahead, but at the appropriate time, I'd be glad to offer this bill, giving it a favorable report.
And I appreciate that, but Representative Gray pointed out too, we've all been talking about the sub, so we need to adopt the sub before we move on.
I guess that's
Do I hear a motion to adopt the substitute? So moved by Representative DuBose, second by Representative Fincher. All in favor of adopting the sub, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we're back on the legitimate sub, and I heard a recommendation for a favorable report from,
As substituted
from Representative Baker. We are going to do questions. I just wanted to acknowledge that since he had said it. Do I hear a second? Let's do that. Second by Representative Ross. Thank you. I think that's her first time. Okay. Are there any other questions? Yes, there are. Representative Paramore.
Yes, I think you might have already answered it when Representative Drummond was asking questions, but this will in no way take away from the dual enrollment aspect of K through 12 students as they're going through that.
So this bill does not address that because once you leave school property,
But what if they're
you're leaving school property.
but some they do dual enrollment at the school? Is it going to affect them in any way?
No, because at the end of the day, if they still need to use it for educational purposes,
Okay.
that is allowed. Yes. Okay. I would like to go back, and I apologize for this. I missed one of your questions that I said I would come back to, Representative Drummond, and that was citing the source. So if I am honest, the easiest way for me to gather most of the data, I gathered a lot of this from the Anxious Generation. A lot of the data, which I'm pretty sure is what she was sharing from, it's a book called The Anxious Generation. It has in the book, and I can get the specifics for you, like some of it is CDC stuff. So they were pulling data from sources that you would normally see being pulled and then just put in graph form so that you could see that. And I actually have the book in my office and I can let you borrow it or I can come show you.
And the email that you got with the substitute yesterday actually does quote it as from the American Academy of Pediatrics.
There are several sources that would be, I would think, very valid. That CDC, there's others.
Representative DuBose.
I would like to thank you, Representative Hulsey, for bringing this bill. I'm very much in support, and I know how hard you've worked on this, and I know that it's been through a series of compromises and details, and that you have been very intentional and worked with so many groups, and I want to thank you for that. We've been through a lot of the same educational conferences together, and I'm very much aware of the need and importance of this bill. I would like to point out that some schools are already just phone free of their own. They just chose to have been always phone free. So I was working lunch for Leeds Middle School, and I just looked around and noticed the kids were having so much fun at lunch. They were being kids. They were interacting with each other. They were talking. They were laughing. They were having fun. And I said, no cell phones. And the principal said, no, we've never, ever had cell phones. If I see a cell phone, it gets taken away. So they don't even bring them at all, and that's that principal's choice. And so those kids are used to it and living life large and happy. Yep. And I don't think, I said, are you getting, complaints from parents? No, because we've never had phones. And then probably a week earlier, I had been in one of the high schools in my district in Shelby County, and the high school students were walking through the hallway changing classes like this. Like this, in between classes. And that just made me so sad. Because I remember being in high school and how rowdy the hallways were and fun. And, kids should be interacting. They should be making eye contact. They should be saying, hey, how you doing? Good morning. Or whatever it is kids say when they greet each other. It should be going on. And so thank you for bringing this bill. I know it's a compromise. I know that it could be tougher. There's some schools that buy lockers and make them lock them in that particular locker. But, these phones are at least put away in a place that's owned by the student. So, in an emergency, they can get access to their phone in their own personal locker that they have the access to.
Yes.
Representative Smith.
Thank you. I think with our excellence and ed people here, I would like for them to give us the data on how long it takes a child to get back in touch with what they were supposed to be doing when they're interrupted by a phone, so that you can see how drastic this is in a classroom.
Yes, if y'all will come up and share that, that'd be great.
Thank you, Adriana Harrington, Managing Director at Excel and Ed. It takes 23 minutes and 41 seconds on average to regain focus to the level that you were at for any notification, text, buzz that occurs for a student. And 50% of students get 240 notifications a day. If you do the math, it's not mathing, you can't focus. Thank you.
To your point as well, and I think that's probably been one of the biggest things that's been a critical thing for me. So that, if I remember correctly, she's referencing a University of California study that was done, and there was an experiment that was done in Texas where they had two different groups of students. They were teaching basically like a 45-minute class. One group had cell phones in there. The other group did not. They presented the same material to these students tested them at the end. Obviously, the kids without phones way outperformed the kids that had them. But what was really interesting, and I think speaks into this 23 minutes data, is that on average, the kids in that class were interrupted 9 times. So I don't know how in the world you can be focused on the one thing you're supposed to be doing at school, which is learning, and that's setting you up for your best possible success, if you're getting distracted 9, 10, 11, 12 times in a 45, 50-minute window, when we know the minute you're distracted once, it's at least 23 minutes. On average, for some kids, that's going to be even longer. So we're wasting their time when that happens.
Representative Baker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just maybe make an emphasis on a point that maybe has been lightly touched on, and that is the locals actually have the control as to how, in regards to the prohibition of the phone use during the instructional, during the day. And I'll basically use the term bell to bell and such, but it would be up to them. So whether they use the yonder pouches, they could do that.
Correct.
Or if they choose to have a mask locker, in which some schools use that, and this
Yes.
is something that's available out there as well, where they're collected to start school day and then redistributed at the end of the school day, or whether it just simply be that they are prohibited there, and whether the student then keeps it in their vehicle or whatever they might would do. But it's where the use of the phone, though, is to be banned during the school days. So just a little bit to Representative Dubos's point. So even if it's in their school locker, it's not where they're to be able to go to the locker and use their phone in between during the bell change or such as that. It's prohibited throughout the day, wherever it might would be. But the prohibition policy would be left up to the locals to make that decision, and any punitive consequences that go with that would also be the locals making that decision. So if the phone were to be in use in violation thereof, multiple or once or more than once, whatever, that'd be up to the local school board to make those decisions. So I do like that local control in regards to this. Once again, I renew my motion to give the bill a favorable report as substituted if there are no further questions.
We have a motion and a second by Representative Ross. I do want to point out, I don't know that we've even said it though, but we also have a name for this bill, which is Focus, Freeing our classrooms of unnecessary screen time for safety. Are there any other questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The bill is given a favorable report.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, committee members.
Thank you. I'm going to call up House Bill 288 out of order. Representative Mooney, because Representative Collins has the other bill, and I'll turn over the chairmanship to the vice chair.
Thank you, Representative Collins. Appreciate your help in working on things we've been working on to try and work through the process with this bill with AIC and everybody. This bill is a culmination of some work that's been done by Jeremy Gray and myself with athletic trainers trying to find a way to reach a point where we can successfully eliminate the dearth of or lack of athletic trainers in a lot of areas. We have situations all around our state where there's nobody available other than maybe a chance of a school nurse, but quite often there's not. And because there's so much athletics, the best shot we've got to get medical into an area is an athletic trainer who does receive, of course, medical training in their process. And they're also occupational trainers. They can triage, they can direct people to where they need to go for health care. We just aim to address the shortage of these athletic trainers. You can see that on your pass out in our Alabama K-12 schools and post-secondary institutions by providing financial assistance through a loan repayment program similar to AMSTEP, and it provides loan assistance to educators in acute shortage areas, and its intent is to provide recruiting and retention addressing Alabama's shortage, and to protect and enhance student-athlete safety. And at the same time, quite honestly, I've been witness to a situation where someone was injured at an athletic field and they rendered assistance to citizens who were there who had an accident. Somebody fell, was cut up pretty badly, that type thing. The goal is to encourage more individuals to enter and complete accredited athletic training programs, ensuring a steady supply of trainers in Alabama, and the program will be administered by the Alabama Commission on Higher Education, AIC, and the Alabama Board of Athletic Trainers. And we're very thankful for AIC's involvement and work in this and helping us to try to do it. They've seen the need, and they have the available funds that can produce it. You've actually got a sheet that would show you the prediction model in relation to it. Athletic trainer loan assistance applicants would have to meet a number of minimum requirements, graduated from an approved athletic training program at the master's level, pass the Board of Certification examination, hold a license in good standing from the Alabama Board of Athletic Trainers, and then outstanding federal student loans that are subsidized or unsubsidized. But using the MSTEP funds, the bill would provide eligible licensed athletic trainers up to $7,500 a year for 2 semesters or $3,750 for 1 semester in relation to their work that is going on at the approved schools and institutions. And it's a minimum of 20 hours of work a week that they have to be doing. That's kind of a general overview. I'm glad to try to answer any questions. And if I don't know the answer, I know Jeremy does.
I wanted to point out, too, you've got 2 handouts that were a part of this bill, too, about the money that's already available for these programs and trying to get more people in these areas. And so are there any questions? Representative Gray.
At the proper time, I'd like to give it a favorable report.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have a motion to give a favorable report and a second by Representative Paramore. Are there any other questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Your bill is given a favorable report.
Thank you so much, Chairman. It's been a joy to be with you. The first time I've ever actually been here.
Welcome to Education Policy.
Other than to just listen to other people. So thank y'all so very much.
Thank you. I'm going to turn over the chairmanship of the committee to Representative Vice Chair Baker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With that, we do have one remaining bill on our agenda. We have HB 271. Madam Chair Collins, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. This is also a bill similar to Representative Mooney's about AIC. I had one in Ways and Means this morning about that too. And the main thing is the funding piece of paper you have with the green and yellow on it. We're not using all of our funding that we have available for these students, and we have great need. And so changing eligibility to acute, and then this one is to ReEngage Alabama grant. And so what we're doing on this one is lowering the age from 25, where it currently is, to 22. So as soon as they get out of college age, that they are eligible for this. And it's for either their first baccalaureate, or if they've not been in school for 2 years, it would allow them to even start at an associate level. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Any questions?
We have one amendment. If it's in your package, I guess it's my bill, I can offer the amendment. It adds the letter N to line 25 at the end. So that's all it does. It has education, and it did not have an N at the end. So I'd like to motion that we accept the amendment.
All right, there's been a motion to accept the amendment by Collins, and then a second by Drummond. Any questions, any discussion? All those in favor of the amendment say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? With that, the amendment is adopted. Okay, motion to give the bill a favorable report as amended by Representative Drummond, a second by Representative Gray. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And with that, then, HB 271 as amended has been given a favorable report. Chairwoman Collins, I return the gavel back to you.
Thank you very much. I want to say I love seeing all our chairs full, except for Representative Daniels, and we know he's dealing with some health things, so please keep him in your prayers. And with that, we are adjourned.
There you go. You're the jokester. I believe it. I believe it. Hey, how are you doing? Well, I'll come down every week. Yes, I'm here every day there. Yes. Government relations rep over down here. No time to never know what's going on. Ready to go. Positions we get. Oh, is that okay? Actually, I'm from JSU. Okay, nice to meet you. Connection. I was just saying, we did have a question, about that. And you and Kelly have been talking a little bit about that, trying to smooth that out. So I said, this is oh, right. Okay, good. Yeah, okay, perfect. That's what I said. This is a bill. I let them do it, they need to and everything like that. They're going to know the answer. So. But I'll let her know that, yes, that we met in person. So thank you so much for your help. Good to see you too.
You doing okay?
I am. How about you?